head down and my shoulders drooping. All the way to my desk, I felt the eyes checking me out. I wondered who would be the first to intrude. Hey, what's up? Dylan Keene asked. Nothing. Come on, Stan, you look awful. Share the pain. What's up? Can you keep this to yourself? Dylan wasn't known for his discretion, but I needed to tell something. You bet. My dad's splitting. No kidding? Yeah, and it's weird too. He's trying to hide everything, but I found all this stuff. Like what? Like he's quitting his job. My PC was down, so I was using his to write a paper. You know how the file menu lists the last couple of documents that were open? Sure. There it was. A resignation letter. That job was his life. Now he's walking away from it. Hey, that doesn't mean anything. My dad just changed jobs last year. I can name a bunch of kids whose folks changed jobs. Did any of them buy a rail pass? I found the receipt in his desk drawer. People take vacations. Do they bookmark websites about quick divorces or download stuff about child abandonment laws? That's probably the reason he didn't split months ago. I just turned 18 last week. If he'd left when I was a minor, the cops could go after him for support payments. That sucks, man. Does your mom know? I doubt it. I'm not sure what would be worse. If she found out now, or if she found out after he disappeared. The light bell rang. Hey. Thanks for listening. I'm kind of glad I talked to someone. As I left for class, I really wanted to smile, but that would screw up everything. Abusive parents exist all around the world, creating pain in their families, both physical and emotional. But sometimes the abuse is centered on a single family member, and the others are left alone. In this story, we look at how the actions of a boy named Stan may not match his apparent motives, by David Lubar. Damn, this was working out perfectly. By the end of the day, it was obvious that Dylan had broadcast the news to every ear he could borrow. Excellent. Once enough people accept a rumor, it becomes a truth. The word was out. My dad was leaving my mom. I watched him at dinner that evening, right after he got back from that job he pretended to love. He grunted when she put his food in front of him and started eating without waiting for her to sit. He took a bite of the string bean and glared at her. These aren't cooked enough. She reached for his plate. I'm sorry. Leave it. Why the hell did you buy this? It's tough. Don't you even know how to pick out a decent cut of meat? I could make something else. Just shut up and let me eat. Whatever else you make won't be any better. I clenched my teeth and kept silent. I knew that if I came to her defense, it'd only make her suffer more later. I'd learned that the hard way. But I guess my heart was the one he needed to crush. He disapproved of everything she did. Her friends, her interests, her enjoyment of life. I kept waiting for her to decide that she'd suffered enough. I'd waited 18 years, hoping she'd find the courage to leave the jerk. But nothing pushed her over the edge. She took it all. She never leaved him. I'd asked, I'd suggested, and I'd begged. But she'd been raised to believe that marriage was for life. He'd never leave her either. Their relationship was too convenient. For every ounce of crap he swallowed at work, he came home and dumped a bucketful on her. Since neither of them would end the marriage, it was up to me to get rid of him. But I knew that if he disappeared, the police would search until they found an answer. So I decided to circumvent the problem. The hunt for fibers and DNA wouldn't even begin. He'd vanish, but not without trace. When the police uncovered a trail leading elsewhere, they'd nod knowingly and write it off as another man in search of a better deal. Sorry, ma'am. There's not much we can do. He could be anywhere. He'd be gone, and we'd be fine. Tomorrow night, he'd get something else he'd been earning for a long time. He'd been restoring an old Camaro in the garage. That was his hobby. Long ago, I thought about kicking out Jack when he was underneath the car. That was no good. Jack wasn't the kind that slipped easily. The base was large and solid. It would be too suspicious an accident. But the garage itself was perfect for my plan. There was a tarp on the floor. I'd already selected the hammer. I knew just where to take the body. The little road ran right along the south side of the landfill. If I put him in the right spot, he'd be bulldozed under a ton of garbage by the end of the day. He'd never be found. Of course, no one would bother looking. Even the most inept detectives would uncover some of the clues I pointed. Last month, when the plan first flared through my mind, I wasn't sure I could actually kill him. But each evening, my resolve strengthened as I watched him beat Mom down with words. Every angry jab he spoke was a nail in his own coffin. That evening, he'd been nastier than ever at dinner, and she'd been even quieter, almost as if she'd made a decision. But my plan wouldn't be altered. I took a long walk. My nerves were edgy. When I waited long enough that I was sure he'd be in the garage, I headed back home. I got to the house about the same time as the police. Mom stopped me out front, at the bottom of the porch steps. There's been an accident. Her face seemed deathly pale. What happened? Your father was working on that car. The jack slipped. I felt the universe take a sharp twist, throwing everything out of sequence. Is he all right? She opened her mouth to speak, then squeezed her eyes shut and buried her face in my chest. I stayed by the porch, comforting her, letting the sense of relief sink in. It was over, and I hadn't had to kill him. It was so much better this way. The policeman was standing on the porch, studying Mom. Just a couple of questions. He held up the receipt for a rail pass. Did you know about this? I could see other pieces of evidence in his hand. Pieces of the trail I created. No, I've never seen it before. What is it? Oh God. I could hear it in her voice. Mom was a terrible liar. The policeman could hear it too, I guess. I think you might want to contact a lawyer. As the policeman went back inside, I walked towards Mom. She scurried away and thrust a hand up, as if to protect me from herself. You didn't do anything wrong. I did everything wrong. The truth caught my throat. It wouldn't set her free. It would just add to her misery. One policeman stood by the sidewalk, watching us. All the other cops had gone inside to look for more evidence, I guess. They'd find it. I'd made sure of that. There was a ton. Enough for anyone to discover, I realized. Even some